Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins that could be hiding right in your pocket change if you're a coin collector, a history lover, or just someone curious about how a simple penny can be worth thousands of dollars. Then today's video is going to be perfect for you. First up, the 1943 Lincoln steel penny with the S mint mark is one of the most interesting coins from the World War II era, and it stands out immediately because it looks different from nearly every other Lincoln cent ever produced. In 1943, the United States Mint made a major change in the composition of the 1-cent coin, switching from the traditional copper alloy to a zinc-coated steel planchet. This decision was directly connected to the ongoing war effort, where copper was urgently needed for military equipment, especially shell casings and communications wiring. As a result, the penny struck in 1943 became a true wartime coin, carrying the unmistakable gray-silver tone of steel instead of the familiar reddish color of copper. Your coin, marked with the S Mint mark beneath the date, was produced at the San Francisco Mint, which contributed a large share of these special steel cents in fine condition. A 1943 S steel penny still shows a clear outline of Abraham Lincoln's profile, although the high points, like the hair, cheek, and coat, may display signs of flattening. The lettering and date remain fully readable, even if softened by circulation. The zinc coating that protects the steel core may show some darkening or small patches of wear, especially if the coin has acquired scratches over the decades. Such surface marks are extremely common in circulated steel pennies, as the softer coating tends to show signs of handling more quickly than traditional copper coins. On the reverse, the wheat ears remain visible, framing the United States of America inscription. Some fine lines in the wheat design may be faint or blended due to years of use, but the central features remain recognizable. What makes this coin interesting to collectors is not only its unique metal composition, but also the historical story behind it. These pennies were part of the everyday life of Americans during one of the most challenging periods in modern history. Millions of people used them daily without thinking much about why they looked different. Yet today, they capture an entire era in their design and metal alone. Even the scratches on your coin tell part of that story. They reflect long circulation, countless hands, pockets, and cash drawers, and decades of movement before finally settling into a collector's possession. Because the 1943 steel penny had such a large mintage, and because many survived, its value today depends heavily on condition. In fine condition with some scratches, a typical 1943 steel penny falls into a modest value range. Many price guides place circulated examples from San Francisco between about 30 cents and around 75 cents, depending on how clean the surfaces are and how much eye appeal the coin maintains. A coin graded at the lower end of fine condition, especially with noticeable scratches, usually sits closer to the lower portion of that range. However, collectors still enjoy owning a genuine wartime steel penny, even if its market price is not very high. Higher-grade coins, particularly those with bright surfaces and minimal blemishes, can command stronger prices. But the coin you are describing, with its circulated wear and visible scratches, represents a typical example that would likely sell in the range of 30 to 60 cents. It is not rare, yet it remains desirable because nearly every collector of Lincoln cents wants to include at least one steel penny from each mint, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, in their set. The S Mint mark adds a little interest because San Francisco minted coins often attract collectors who focus on mint varieties, even though the value is modest. The coin carries strong historical appeal. It stands as a physical reminder of the choices the nation made during wartime, when necessities pushed the mint to alter long-standing traditions. Many of these steel pennies were later withdrawn from circulation, and some even rusted if their zinc coating wore off. leaving fewer well-preserved pieces than the original mintage might suggest. The example you have, even with scratches, still holds its structure well and continues to display all major design elements clearly, which makes it a worthwhile piece for any numismatic collection. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln steel penny without a mint mark is one of the most recognizable and talked about coins in American coin collecting, mainly because of its unusual material and the powerful history it carries. In 1943, the United States Mint made a dramatic change to the penny's composition, switching from the traditional bronze alloy to a completely different metal, zinc-coated steel. This wartime change was necessary because copper was redirected to support World War II production, especially for ammunition and essential military wiring. As a result, the steel penny became the only regular-issue U.S. cent made primarily out of steel, giving it a distinct silver-gray color that stands out immediately from every other Lincoln cent ever produced. Your coin. The 1943 penny, without a mint mark, was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia produced the largest quantity of steel pennies during that year, which makes this version the most common of the three 1943 varieties. Even so, the coin remains a favorite among collectors because it represents an important moment in American history. In good condition, the coin shows moderate signs of circulation. Lincoln's portrait is still clearly visible with defined outlines, though the high points, such as the cheek, jaw, and hair, may appear softened from years of use. The date remains bold and readable, and the motto "In God We Trust" continues to stand out along the upper rim. The coin's surfaces may show some uneven color, light darkening and spots, or scratches from its long journey through circulation. Scratches on these coins are incredibly common. The zinc coating can wear down or mark easily, and once the coating is disturbed, the steel underneath may begin to show darker patches or slight discoloration. These natural marks tell the story of how the coin was handled throughout its lifetime. They can range from tiny hairline marks to slightly deeper lines that caught on other coins or surfaces over the years. Even with these scratches, coins in good condition still hold a strong collectible identity, because they maintain most major design features clearly enough to be appreciated. In today's market, the value of a 1943 steel penny without a mint mark depends heavily on its condition. Since this is the most common version of the steel penny, circulated examples are widely available. For a coin in good condition with noticeable scratches, the typical market value today ranges from around 10 cents to about 30 cents. Some pieces may fall slightly above or below that range, depending on the coin's overall eye appeal, the evenness of its surfaces, and whether the scratches are light or more visible. Coins with heavy damage fall toward the lower end of the range, while cleaner examples then within the same grade rise toward the upper end. Higher grade examples, such as those in extremely fine or uncirculated condition, can be worth more. But a normally circulated 1943 steel penny still retains its value as a historical collectible, even if the dollar amount is modest. Many collectors enjoy adding this coin to their sets because it is a signature part of the Lincoln cent story. And nearly every beginner collector looks for at least one authentic 1943 steel penny to include in their collection. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln steel penny with the D mint mark is one of the most recognizable and fascinating coins from the World War II era. A coin that immediately stands out because of its bright silver-gray appearance. In 1943, the United States Mint made a major shift in the material used to produce pennies. Instead of the traditional copper composition used since the early 1900s, the Mint switched to zinc-coated steel for 1 year. This change happened because copper was essential for war production, especially for ammunition, electrical wiring, and military communication equipment, with copper supplies redirected to the battlefield. The Mint created millions of steel pennies that carried the same design but a completely different metal. making the 1943 series a historic and unforgettable part of American coinage. Your coin was minted in Denver, which is identified by the small D mint mark placed just below the date. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these steel cents, though fewer than the Philadelphia Mint, even though they are not rare. They remain highly collectible because of their unique metal and their strong connection to the wartime period. A steel penny in very fine condition shows clear signs of circulation, but still retains sharp detail. On your coin, Lincoln's portrait remains well defined, with strong visibility in his facial features, hair, and clothing. While some wear as expected on the highest points of the design, the details remain crisp enough to appreciate. The motto "In God We Trust" along the top rim, and the words Liberty and the date remain bold and easily readable, even in very fine condition. These coins often show scratches on the surfaces, and your coin is no exception. Scratches are extremely common on 1943 steel pennies, because the zinc coating can wear or mark easily during circulation. Over time, these scratches can create slightly dull or uneven spots on the coin's surface. They do not necessarily ruin the coin's appeal. Instead, they are simply evidence of the coin's long life in circulation. These marks tell the story of the many hands, pockets, and transactions the coin has passed through before finally becoming a collectible item. When it comes to the value of a 1943D steel penny in today's market, condition is a key factor. Very fine condition is a mid-grade level, showing noticeable but not heavy wear, and still holding most of its original design. Because the 1943D is common, especially in circulated grades, its value remains modest. In the current market, a 1943D steel penny in very fine condition with some scratches generally sells between about 15 cents and around 40 cents. Coins with fewer scratches and better eye appeal fall toward the upper end of this range, while those with more noticeable marks sit near the lower end, even though the market value is not high. The historical value of this coin is far more significant. It is a piece of the World War II home front story, a symbol of how everyday life in the United States changed to support the war effort. Millions of Americans used these coins without realizing they were holding a piece of wartime history. Today, collectors appreciate them not only for their unusual metal, but also for the deeper meaning behind their production. Next up, the 1938 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark is another interesting and enjoyable coin for collectors who appreciate the long history of the Lincoln cent series. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, this coin represents a time when the United States was still recovering from the Great Depression and preparing for major global changes that would follow in the coming years. The Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark at that time, so any 1938 penny without a letter under the date automatically comes from that mint, even though millions were produced. Finding an example in extra fine condition with strong detail and original charm still makes it a solid collector piece in extra fine condition. A 1938 wheat penny shows clear sharpness in the majority of its design. On your coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait remains well defined, with the outline of the hair, the forehead, the beard, and the clothing folds still strong and visible. The high points of the design may show light wear from circulation, but nothing heavy or distracting. You can still see the texture in Lincoln's hair and the softness of the facial features, which is typical of an extra fine grade. The motto "In God We Trust" curves cleanly above his head. The word liberty stands boldly to the left, and the date 1938 remains sharply readable, even though the coin is extra fine. The surfaces still show some scratches, which is completely normal for a wheat penny that is circulated. These scratches may appear as light lines or small marks scattered across the coin, showing how it passed through hands, pockets, and cash registers before eventually being saved. None of these scratches are severe enough to spoil the detail, but they give the coin its own personality and a sense of the life it has lived. Collectors understand that circulation marks are common and expected, especially in coins minted nearly 90 years ago. When discussing the value of this coin in today's market, it's important to consider that while the 1938 penny is not rare, its condition has a big influence on price. Lower-grade circulated examples are very common and typically worth only a few cents each. But extra-fine examples stand out because they show strong design detail and better surfaces, even with some scratches. A 1938 no-mint mark penny in extra-fine condition generally sells between about 50 cents and around $1 in the current market. Coins with fewer scratches and a more attractive surface tend to fall near the top of this range, while examples with more visible marks usually fall closer to the lower end, even though the value is modest. This coin still holds a strong place in the Lincoln Penny series. It represents the pre-war years and is part of the beloved decades of wheat pennies that collectors always enjoy completing. The 1930s are especially popular among collectors because many coins from that era saw heavy circulation, and finding sharp examples is always satisfying. The grainy texture of the wheat stalks, the fine detail in Lincoln's beard, and the boldness of the inscriptions all contribute to its appeal. Next up, the 1958 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark is one of the final coins from the long-running wheat penny series, making it an important piece for collectors who appreciate the closing chapter of a historic design. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the absence of a mint mark under the date tells us exactly where it was made. This year marked the end of an era, because after 1958, the United States Mint retired the wheat ears on the reverse and introduced the famous Lincoln Memorial design starting in 1959. That makes any 1958 wheat cent feel like a final farewell to the classic design that Americans used for half a century. Your coin, showing a natural brown color shade, reflects the typical look of an older copper coin. Copper darkens and deepens in tone over the decades as it passes through hands, pockets, and environments. The coin's warm brown patina is expected and even appreciated by collectors because it shows the authenticity and age of the coin. In fine condition, this 1958 penny still holds clear visibility of all major features, even though it has experienced noticeable circulation. Abraham Lincoln's portrait remains well-formed, though the highest points, such as the cheekbone, jawline, and hair curls, show wear from years of handling. The rims remain mostly complete, the lettering stands clear, and the date 1958 is sharp and easily readable. Some scratches can be seen on the surface, which is normal for a wheat penny of this age and condition. These scratches may appear as small diagonal lines, gentle marks, or contact points where the coin rubbed against others in circulation. In fine condition, such marks are expected, and they do not take away from the overall character of the coin. Instead, they show the journey the coin made through everyday transactions, from grocery counters to taxi fares to pocket change in the 1950s. This penny passed through the hands of regular Americans living their daily lives before eventually becoming part of a collector's world, because 1958 was the final year of wheat penny production. It is a very popular year for collectors. However, the Philadelphia Mint produced a very large quantity of these coins, so they are not rare. As a result, the value depends mostly on condition. Lower grade or heavily worn 1958 pennies without a mint mark are very common and usually worth only a few cents. But in fine condition, with clear detail and a natural brown color, the value rises slightly. Even with some scratches, the typical market value for a 1958 no-mint mark wheat penny in fine condition usually falls between about 10 cents and 25 cents in today's market. Coins with fewer marks, stronger eye appeal, and smoother surfaces may fall toward the higher end of this range, even though the dollar value is small. This coin carries emotional and historical weight. It represents the last breath of the wheat penny era, a design that many collectors consider one of the most beautiful and classic ever used on United States coinage. From 1909 to 1958. The wheat ears design symbolized growth, stability, and the American spirit. Holding a 1958 wheat penny is like holding the final chapter of a book that ran for 5 full decades. Your coin still captures that history. Its fine condition, the remaining strength in its design, and the natural brown patina all show a coin that has lived a full life but kept its visual identity intact. The scratches add character rather than harm, reminding us that this coin was part of the real everyday economy before finding its place as a collectible. Even though the monetary value is modest, the sentimental and historical value is far larger.